Whoa, hold on a second. Let's get the timer going. This isn't right. And there we are. Full screen that baby. All right. Hey, Andy.
Hello, mate. How are we doing?
Okay. Did you catch that video?
Yeah. I caught the last bit of it, actually.
Oh, yeah. I took a lot of videos.
Did you? You always do. It's always good.
Yeah.
I had a bit of a panic. I couldn't seem to get in. And then I was like, oh, my God, I'm going to have to go on my phone. So I'm trying to log in. And then it's going, what's your Facebook password? I'm like, I've got no idea. You know? But yeah, look good. Cool.
It was a great time. I mean, it was a great convention. I'll go through all the different pieces, but once again, same as with ETH Denver, you and I didn't get a chance really for me to run through everything that I did. I tried to keep copious notes while I was going because so much happens at these conferences you forget if you don't have a good system, to keep track of everything. So but
this is becoming a regular occurrence, mate. You and me chatting through. Obviously, I'm at Games Festival, London Games Festival next week, so there'll be like 100,000 people there, and we might have to do a switcheroo.
You want to do a switch around?
Yeah. Although I might have to get you to help me with the video editing. I could probably provide some dodgy kind of techno music in the background or something like that.
Well, I went out and got a Steadicam, one of those devices, hold your camera steady, so I can walk through the crowd. Okay. Yeah. It's not the most intuitive device to use, but it did help to kind of stabilize that video as I was walking through the crowd, and I dropped in my editing stuff. So.
Oh, nice.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Send me the link afterwards, and I'll have a review. But no, it sounds cool.
I'm gonna go through this a little different than last time. Last time when we did this at ETH Denver, I had the presentation up the entire time. So when I tried to make small clips to make small versions of it, it just didn't look right. So I'm gonna kind of go back and forth to the presentation and everything to kind of walk through all the stuff. I'll bring it up real quick and go through like the first couple of slides, and then I'll probably bring it back down and bring it back up again. So try not to get motion sick as I do this. We're gonna get this into slideshow mode. There we go. All right. So, I flew out there day one, went right to the convention hall to get my ticket and to kind of get the lay of the land because I wasn't sure how far away I was from the convention center. I got a place that was kind of a good distance away. Interestingly enough, I got there like 2 a.m. by the time I got to my hotel room that Monday morning because the flights were all late. But so I get up the next morning, and before I went to the convention center, I went to there's a diner I passed on the way there, like a 50s diner for breakfast. I sit down at the countertop and everything, just kind of by myself. Another guy sits next to me, and I, struck up a conversation with the guy. Turns out he's a CEO of what studio is it? CEO of Secret Mode. They're a small publisher in the UK, if I remember right. So got to start talking to him. What you doing here? And I said, it's funny. As I start explaining YOM to him, he starts explaining back to me the reason for a decentralized cloud gaming network, like all the important pieces for it. So he started, completing the sales pitch for me, which I thought was, of course, great. And And then I went to exchange LinkedIn information, and sure enough, he's friends or worked with a good friend of mine who I worked with in Australia, who I was going to meet Wednesday night, and I'll go with that story too. But it's a very small world, the gaming industry. It's a little incestuous.
Well, but I think, I mean, how long have you been in it now, Jeff? Anyway,
25 years.
There you go.
Yeah,
you know?
And it really was the people I knew at Pandemic, mostly in Australia, that they seemed to know everybody. I mean, these folks went on to do. They did Overwatch, they Gears of War, SSX3. I mean, they worked at EA for a time. Some of them still are at EA. A lot of people tied into Unreal, into Epic, which is helpful for us. I've got conversations next week with some friends of mine in there. So, yeah, all of it was. Anyways, very first conversation at the very breakfast that
very cool. How nice. Yeah.
So and then I went to so that very first day after I went and got my convention thing, I went to this event. So I'm going to minimize this while we talk about it a little bit. But this was the accelerator for Telegram games. They were a whole bunch of projects were launching games on Telegram. But of course, we're the only ones who can do Unreal inside of Telegram. So
of course.
That was a fun time showing all the people there. Oh yeah, you guys are doing your game here. Well, look, this is Unreal in Telegram.
How did that work, actually? By the way, because obviously the whole goal of Telegram games is for engagement, and it's about normally non-gaming projects doing Telegram games to get engagement, etc. But they tend to be quite basic, don't they? Well, so how do they take Unreal Engine in a Telegram?
There were some that had built like a Unity game inside of it, and they kind of was like,
really?
Wish we could have used Unreal. Unreal's a little bit better than what we wanted to do. So there were a couple of them, and then like you said, there were a couple of games that were kind of. One of them thought was really kind of cool. It's a the name of the the name was Pollo, Pollo, I believe that's right. What they do, it's a game, right? They gamify polls. So you can ask any question and then take the over under on the answers, right? Do you prefer French fries or potato chips? In a meal, and someone posts that question, and then you take the over under. I believe that over 50% or over 80% will take French fries, whatever. Yeah. And the question will stay live for 24 hours, and people just go in there, and you can actually gamble. I believe ton.
But that's the killer bit, isn't it? That's the point. Yeah. Okay, because they all have to have ton integration, don't they now?
Well, that was a point many people were grousing about. They feel like Telegram has to go back on that because ton is not the token of choice, or that some of them had built plenty of on-ramps to other tokens before the ton ruling came down, and they're kind of feeling like they'll get a little bit hosed. But this was also the event that I caught up with the guy from Ubisoft. And said, hey, you've got projects on Ubisoft. Cool. I just, sent them out a message again today. So this is a good event. I mean, for many reasons, again, it just validates our Telegram wrapper. It's a lot going on in that space. And some of it is, smaller games or not games that build in Unreal, but some of them are also games you build in Unreal.
Very cool.
So let's see what I do that evening. Oh yeah. Then I went to, this is another nice first day event. In the evening on that first day, they had like a welcoming party, a game they call it GDC Nights at the Convention Center's West Hall. And what they do is they set up a big room for people to play tabletop games. They've got like a couple of, they say not really bars, but popcorn and drinks and stuff that they do, water and that kind of thing that they served. And people just kind of mingle. So, getting to see each other for the first time before the week kicks off. And as I'm walking through the space, I hear someone call my name. And I look over, and it's Michael from Star Atlas.
Oh, how cool. Yeah, great. You see him everywhere.
Yeah. Now, he's talking to the guy from Shaga, who I've already met one time, or a couple of times. We were at that event in Singapore together. And he, nice enough guy and everything. But so Michael calls me over, and I sit and talk to him and his marketing woman, and we for about 45 minutes we're sat around talking about GDC and where we are with our build. And the guy from Shaga kind of sneaked away at some point pretty early on in the conversation. I think he said he had another event to go to. I don't want to cast any. But so we talked for 40 more minutes about when are we going to bring them on board in some form or fashion? And actually, he's agreed to come on to he or somebody from his team onto this town hall in the next couple of weeks. So we'll see if we can't schedule.
Nice.
So that was the first night. Did I leave anything off? I don't think so. By the time I got back to my hotel, it was about 10 at night. So I was pretty well shagged out.
Yeah, okay.
So let me bring up the presentation. I'll go into what happened on day 2.
And did you see the message I sent you earlier about the big company that agreed to and said, look, I'm really sorry, I've been really busy, but I'll be on your town hall. Send me some dates.
Yeah, I didn't see the message, but we have dates available. So except for, again, there's more conferences going on, but we do have dates available. So let's get some people lined up. And I think soon we're going to have Rohan join me for a day so we can talk about the technology and update everybody on where our network is.
Yeah, that's a good idea.
So the second day, day 2, am I sharing already? Yeah.
You are, yeah.
Day 2 was when I had breakfast with the Mutable, right? And I won't go into too many details about that, but super nice guy from Australia, but living in Boston. I've lived in Australia. I grew up in Boston, so we had a lot to talk about. It was a good conversation. He handles games for Immutable. So that's another conversation that I got to pick up. There's so many notes, so many people I met that I got to pick up. But after that, I went to the SUI gaming conference. So this is a it was a good event. It had a lot of important people doing keynote speaking, and they had a room set aside for games that were running on SUI, so you could see them running. And I got to talk to a lot of people there. But the thing I wanted to bring up here is that GDC itself, people ask oftentimes, what's the traditional gaming space doing about blockchain gaming? And it really is funny. Arbitrum was the only one who had a booth inside that I saw, anyways, inside the convention center. The SWE event, the BGA event, all those things were being held outside the outside of the conference hall, but there were a lot of them. So I think what it seems like, what people have told me, because I didn't go last year, what they told me about last year is that there were same things last year. This year was the same as last year. There were events outside the convention center, but there were less last year than they were this year. And of course, Diamante put their toe in the water and got into the convention hall this year. So it seems like it is starting to migrate.
Were they there? With Diamante there? Oh, that's cool.
I talked to them for a bit too. So it's starting to migrate into the convention center as opposed to just being on the outside, the Web3, stuff and everything. So that's kind of nice. Now, SWE's making a pretty big play into the gaming space, and we talked to them before. We'll talk to them some more. But what was nice about it was they had one room set up with all these different games running, and they allowed the people who have built on their system to demo their game. And they range from really large projects to, again, small independent ones. And I spoke to and got data from both. But again, same thing happened. I started giving the pitch to the one guy about why cloud gaming is important. And before I could get through the whole thing, he's telling me the pitch back at me, right?
Nice.
Oh, you mean, yeah. So that means I can sell to anybody. They don't have to have the high-end computer. I'm like, yeah. It's like, oh man. And then we can put it on a couple of different pages. We could put it behind a wall to get their login information beforehand, right? Or charge them if we want to. I'm like, yeah, absolutely. And then he's like, wait a minute. So I've got it up on Steam already. That means I can do like a demo of the game on our website. And I'm like, yes.
Nice. Caught it. Yeah. Brilliant.
So again, it's one of the easiest things to sell to gamers, to game developers. What we build is very easy to convince them because, again, halfway through it, they convince themselves. So
very nice. And did you see? I sent also some emails today. The number on, if you do a Google Alerts search on Google, obviously, the number of references to cloud gaming is just getting bigger and bigger. I think earlier this year it was like 2 or 3 a week, and now it's like, I think it was 12 today, and that's the biggest I've seen. But it was 12 articles, good, well-written articles on the future and how it's cloud gaming. But again, I think the cloud gaming piece, again, just people get it and they see it, but the cost is the big bit, isn't it, at the moment? And that's the differential that we're going to bring to the table.
That's the conversation I had earlier today too with the group that I met through the Spanish Commerce Department. It was like, once again, they wanted to do the cloud gaming thing, and it just got too expensive to hold up. Then I'm like, yep, that's where we ran into too, and that's where we've made the technology we've made to fix that cost problem.
Yeah.
So I went from the SWE event to this one, and this is the ride in the car with Sebastian Bourget, right? So this is the only Uber I had to take. It was for the BGA event, and it was way out. It was a beautiful area of San Francisco, like way out by you overlooked the Golden Gate Bridge and a big parks area and everything. It was very nice, and it was up in that red building that's where the event was held. And I just kind of grabbed some of the talks that they were having. Again, it's still about friction. It's a lot of talks about AI agents and how they play into gaming, both inside the games themselves and then for analyzing the how the games are being played. And then the idea that really, again, this is such a difference between. Well, I take that back. I don't want. It sounds like I'm going to start complaining about the gaming industry, and I don't mean to do that because obviously I've had a lot of good times in it. But collaboration over competition. That's really a very heavy Web3 thing, and certainly for Web3 games, they all feel this way. No, particularly normal gaming, there's still so much competition between the big studios about who's going to outplay each other because again, the pool is only so big. Actually, that going back to the SWE conference, the one of the keynote speaker, I think it was the keynote speaker, was talking about, people were asked questions like, how do we get more players into Web3 games? And the answer really is stop calling them Web3 games, just games, and make your Web3 components pretty low key. But then he kept on saying, we don't really want to keep on stealing from each other's player pool. We just want to expand the pie and get more players in. Totally. And I kept on thinking in my head, when's he going to say cloud gaming, right?
Yeah.
And he never did. No one really asked him point blank, well, how do you make that pie bigger? The pie being the amount of people playing games.
Yeah.
And I ran out of time before I got a chance to ask it myself. But in my head, I'm screaming, to make that pie bigger, you've got to make it easier for people to play AAA games on equipment that they own already, which again may or may not be a gaming rig. So, but I didn't. The same thing. I didn't want to say, oh, by the way, we're the way to make the pie bigger.
It's a bit of a pitch, isn't it? Amid kind of his presentation or whatever.
I could have done that. I guess in a question form, right? So I know you talked about making the pie bigger. Now, my understanding of that is the best way to do it is to enable decentralized cloud gaming on a network that's built on gaming rigs around the world at low price. That would be the way to do it, right? Oh, by the way, I'm from YOM.
I love it.
So I didn't do that, but I guess I could have. All right, so let me go to so that was day one and day two.
Sorry, the BGA was an evening event, was it? And stuff with speakers or
it was later in the afternoon. But that evening, actually, I met up with a buddy of mine that I haven't seen, a guy I worked for at Pandemic. He was an executive producer, and I haven't seen him in 16 years. And we have a very famous picture of the two of us busting a bicep next to each other. And
have you got it? Were you about 20 years old?
16 years ago. It was a long time ago. But he still looks like he's in great shape and keeps busy and doing really well. So it was good to see him again. That's the kind of thing. And I get to this point here in a bit, but he represents the Australian government in bringing in the video game industry into Australia and supporting studios there. That's one of his roles. So again, as I talk about here in a bit, talking about different countries, he'd be our tie into Australia.
Nice.
But day 3, the expo opens, and if you watch it, you didn't get it, Andy, yourself, but the video intro for this live stream, I have this, as a video, and I think I posted it too on our Telegram or on our Twitter. But there was a massive crowd, and they had everybody held back until exactly 10 o'clock. The mayor of San Francisco gets on the PA, and he kind of makes a small plea to say, San Francisco is safe. Make sure you come back. GDC, please come back to San Francisco next year. And I think they already have signed up to come back next year. But it really was San Francisco. I guess it's improved. People saying it's getting better. I didn't necessarily see anything that's too dodgy or anything there.
What, from a city perspective or from a GDC perspective?
No, from a city perspective.
A bit crime and stuff, or
they used to have. I guess it's getting better, is what people are saying. So again, I saw nothing made me go, oh, this place is horrible. It was a nice area that I was in, and even walking back and forth to the hotel was a nice area. So.
Okay.
But 10 o'clock happens. They open up the door, and everyone just kind of floods on in. It was pretty fun to watch. and then and just like any gaming conference, right? They had that setup on the lower left is he's in a rig, moving his hands and feet at the same time inside of VR, like a very elaborate VR setup. They had driving. I got a chance to drive this electric car in like a GTA style, not GTA, sorry, Gran Turismo style game. And then the big pink image there, that's big screen. It was like a wall size screen showing this one game. It was pretty cool looking.
So what's the pink screen? Was that looks like cherry blossoms? Is it?
Well,
for
the
Japan,
name of the game,
or?
I have it in the photo. The name, it's a Japanese studio, and it's kind of like an MMO, but a very slow paced, kind of serene kind of gameplay. I thought it looked beautiful, especially on the big screen like that.
Yeah, it looks brilliant. That'd be amazing on a web browser, wouldn't it? Was it Unreal, or it must have been?
That one was not Unreal. That was in Unity.
It was.
Yeah.
Okay.
Unity can render pretty nice if you don't try to do too many shaders or get too complex with your, So I've got, again, I think Unreal's better for not just the way that the image is rendered, but the ability for coders to really get deep down into the C++ if they want to. With Unity, what I understand anyways, is that it's pretty black boxed, and you have to take their components and use their components as they're designed. You can't customize too much. Some engineer out there is going to tell me I'm wrong, and I'm fine for someone to tell me I'm wrong.
Just watch the messages on the right hand side here from the gamers. But just as an opener though, I mean, Unity is on our roadmap, and as soon as we get things moving, that'll be next on the list, really, won't it?
It will. But Unreal does have all those great people who are hobbyists, who are getting things from the marketplace, buying components that Unreal makes available, and crafting their own game inside of a weekend. Totally. And us having when I talk about us having a YouTube for Unreal experiences, it gets it perks up a lot of people, because even people who are working in these large studios and they have a contract, they're on the side, they're at home, fooling around with their own little game idea, their own little game concept. And if we can allow them a place to put their game concept out to all their buddies, and suddenly someone goes viral, I mean, it's going to be massive, right, for somebody.
I mean, it's a funny one. Obviously, one of our advisors obviously is Kim, who's running PUBG at the moment and running the studio there. That's massive. That's one of the biggest gaming studios out there. And he's got a little game that he's like, oh, look at this, it's a golf game. He doesn't even play golf, but he's like, come up with this idea. He's got and he's done it on the side, and I think that's part of the course, isn't it? If people love the gaming space so much, they want to build the bigger titles and be involved in the bigger titles. But there's also something about pride of, doing your own. It's like being an artist, I think, isn't it? To a degree.
It is. And that is one theme that was running through GDC this year. Was a couple of people said, well, it's turning into a big job fair because there's so much contraction going on in the gaming industry.
Oh, what a shame.
All those people are sitting idle. But again, all those idle people, think of all that talent, all that creative juice that's just sitting there looking for an outlet. And I think we plug into that outlet very easily, right? We give that outlet a great way to shine. Some people were talking about it as, this could be where I put my demo reel. Instead of setting up a video of your game being played, you put the game up, and then the person who's looking to hire you can see what your game chops are, your design chops.
Yeah.
All right, let's see where I go. So after this is a big thing that I noticed too. I just talked about my buddy who represents the Australian government. So a lot of, and this is just a portion of them, but a lot of governments were there at GDC to push the idea that, hey, come to our location and build your games here, right? They want to lure the studios into. I mean, Wales had I've got some images of some really cool games that are coming out of Wales. I spoke to Uruguay, Chile, at the ones down in South America, because I go into Games Latam and I wanted like inlets there. Italy, Poland, I told you Spain just hooked me up with a studio there that I talked to today. The Canary Islands, of all places.
Well, Canary Islands is a bit crazy because, on the animation side, they've got a deal where I think you get something like 60% of the tax back, or you get 60% of your investment back if you're on the Canary Islands. And then Spain are doing it where you get 50% back. Yeah. So that's for animation. I'm assuming it's probably the same for the gaming space.
Yeah, all these countries are trying to lure in game studios because they all recognize what we've been saying forever: is the gaming industry is a massive moneymaker, and they want part of that revenue, just like we do. And again, as we enable more revenue to be passed around because we let more people play these games, I think we're only helping out all these different countries. I had so I named those countries there: Wales, Uruguay, Italy, Poland, Spain, Canary Islands. But there was also Pakistan. That guy, the company is actually, the studio is based in Richmond, Virginia, but they outsource artwork to Pakistan. So they were at the Pakistan booth, and this guy was very interested, former Microsoft guy. I told him what we're building, and he started again giving me the pitch back at me.
Nice.
And we've got to have a phone call with him and Yord at some point, because he asked all these smart questions, which we already have answered, right? Like, why is this separate disk? Well, for security, those kinds of things. But very interested in getting his game available on a network. And then I had the funniest conversation with the folks from Estonia, because it's Estonia and they're terribly self-deprecating, and they're really, really funny. Do you know where Estonia is?
I've been to Tallinn.
Have you?
I've got an ex-girlfriend of mine. Her father owns the keys. You get given, when you get given the key to a city.
Yeah.
He was one of the first people after the fall to basically go to Tallinn and build that. So he's got loads of properties there. And I've stayed there, and I've been partying with Tallinn people there. It's crazy. It's really crazy. Seem like the very beautiful people is the point, like exceptionally.
I mean, only this far away from Norway, right? That's just across the water from Norway, apparently. So the woman I was speaking to said, we kind of want to be Scandinavian, but that water is
I like it.
Anyways, they were super nice too, and immediately, actually, that conversation I think turned into, so I can get some nodes and put them on my computer, and we can make some money here. I'm like, yeah, you can.
Very cool.
So yeah, it was really cool. So a lot of countries there to push the idea of working in their countries, and again, what I was doing was saying, well, let's get in touch with your commerce department, and then you guys can hook us up with some studios in your countries. And that's kind of why I went to all those booths. But the last piece, and again, I've probably got more I can go into, but the games that I saw, because there were so many really nice ones. This one's the one built out of Wales.
Is that a game?
Yeah, it was gorgeous. I mean, really beautiful. Obviously, the tones are all muted, black and white, and then like a little bit of yellow here and there. But golly, this was a gorgeous game. It's called Yami, which I thought was funny, given our personal connection to Yami. But apparently, Yami in Japanese means devil, I think, or angel. It's like, I think it meant devil. He told me what it meant in Japanese. But it was a beautiful looking game. It was kind of like a puzzle adventure, exploring climber game, a little bit of fighting. And I believe this is in the Steam store. This is the big thing for many of the projects that I was speaking to, is being on the Steam wish list is the goal, right? Everyone was like, add me to the wish list, because apparently they use that wish list number when they go out to investors and publishers to say, we have this many people, signed up on our wish list. And I can understand that. That's enticing to a publisher to say, oh, great, we should publish this.
Instant sales, isn't it? As soon as you publish.
Yep. Another group that I met, Snail, at the SWE event. So I think that they're using SWE. They're another beautiful looking Unreal game. Kind of close to a Star Atlas, maybe you could call it something like that. And as was this one here, but this was just a space version of. I know Star Atlas is much more robust than just the space battle stuff. The space battle game from these guys at Warped, another great looking game. And again, I met them at the SWE event. This one here, man, this is another beautiful.
That was cool.
Game. It was called the Hell Express, and it was they're building out of China, I believe. But it's really cool. You get in this RV and you drive it forward, then you get out and you kill the zombies and you get back in again. But it's all like 3/4 view, so 2.5D. But man, it was beautifully rendered and obviously Unreal. I mean, that's how they do these things.
I love those. I love the shadows that you get within Unreal and the light settings. It just makes it a completely different game, doesn't it?
Yeah. Let's see if I can bring this all the way up full screen. Nope, I can't. Yeah, the characters are cartoon rendered-esque, not exactly cartoon rendered, but
Yeah, 2.5D. Yeah.
It was just beautiful.
So a bit like the Borderlands and what the
but in
VR
2.5D
is aimed to be. Yeah.
But in 2.5D. So that was kind of all the games. That wasn't all the games. So, oh, you know what? I didn't make the slides for this. I meant to do it too, and I forgot. I ran out of time. There was a whole section of the convention that was for student games, and they, many of them got awards, but student games and like independent games awards winners. And again, many of them built in Unreal. There was a really cool one that had like you controlled two characters. One was a girl, and one was this like four-legged large beast. And they had you use one thumbstick for one character and one thumbstick for the other. And again, another puzzle game. You get to a certain point they're walking on past, but they can't touch each other because he's up on a cliff and she's down in a ravine. And then you have to she has to push something, a bridge in place so that he can walk across that bridge and walk across. Cool idea of like, a cooperative, but one person cooperative play. Anyway.
Oh, wow, crazy is that? That sounds brilliant. And again, with the controllers, it's obviously PS or Xbox or something like that, was it?
Yeah, they had like an Xbox controller with the two thumbsticks, and then to get this character to do something, you hit this trigger. To get this character to do something, you do this trigger. But it was it was a very cool concept. And again, it goes right down that thinking of independent games have so much more creativity available to them, and they just don't have an outlet like YOM to put their stuff out on.
Or if they go on Steam, if they manage to get on there in some format, they're number 4,485.
Right.
And we've all seen the utilization or user experience. It's virtually 10 people because they can't promote it. They can't get it in front of people. You're never going to search on unless you know it's there, are you?
No, I think again they're doing that with the hope that people will download and install it and play it and then push them to their next project. There's make just enough sales on Steam to be able to afford, to pay their bills and afford the next project. And instead, I think what the goal for them ought to be, get the game beyond that download and install hesitation, because that they'd lose a whole bunch of people there right away. That was another conversation I had where I started talking about that hesitation, and they're like, "Oh yeah, no, I would never download and install a game from that independent." That independent studio, because you don't know what's installed on it. So again, what we offer, that ability to get people to play without having to download and install, he's like, nope, I understand. Totally brilliant.
Just thinking out loud as well is, correct me if I'm wrong, because you're the gaming guy. If you put your game on Steam and let's say it's 2024, by the time it's 2025, people won't even search on games from 2024 unless it's going back to play Call of Duty 3 or something like that because they want it. Obviously what YOM therefore enables people to do is have the trial game, line up people in the wish list, line up people ready to play the game as soon as the game goes live, and then you've got all the downloads happening straight away, and you're a 2025 instead of being a 2024 where it was a beta version. You're 2025 with the live version and people ready to go.
Yep, that's exactly that. That's nice. A use case as well. The idea that you can put the games that they had. The games that were at GDC that were like the demos to get people to sign up for the wish list, those demos don't live anywhere. You can put those games up on the YOM network as well, with the ending being, okay, now go to the wish list and sign up for it. It's another way to funnel. We don't even have to funnel to the full game. We can funnel to the wish list, and that's valuable to people as well, right?
Yeah. Sounds great. All right, I'm in. Where do I sign up?
Sorry,
did you see?
Go ahead.
I was going to say, did you see Nerdgasm had a quick question and said, which one of these are coming to YOM? And the answer is all of them, isn't it?
Yeah,
they all
we can grab. Yeah. What did I not talk about already? I was just
going to say, one of the things that you mentioned quite a bit, and I'd appreciate, it'd be really interesting, I think, for everyone out there as well to find out is, what the feedback sounds really positive from people. What's the kind of what's the kind of feeling with people within the space around, first of all, crypto and Web3, and this is within the Web2 space, and then secondly, what's the kind of feeling on cloud gaming within the to space? Is it positive? Are people still aiming for Steam as the end result? What's the traction?
Two good questions. I'll take the crypto one first.
Mm-hmm.
Still very at arm's length, right? Still very much. We don't know this world. We've got our hands full with just making games anyway. So having to learn the Web3 portion of things is not helpful. It's not something that we want to put on our plate. We're still just trying to make a great game, which I think opens the doors for many of our partners that we speak to who do that end of the equation for these games. So you concentrate on the game and then you outsource your Web3 integration to some of the partners that we're speaking to, right? Yeah. So still at arm's length.
Just on that point, I think there's a lot of similarities between between crypto gaming and mobile gaming 5 years ago. It feels like there's that kind of a little bit of snobbery, perhaps, would I say? Well, you're saying it's more around technical fear and not understanding or focus on the game as opposed to focus on the Web3 element, right?
Well, we said this. I know that I'm not going to speak for yours. I know I've said it plenty of times, and yours listen to me.
Yeah.
But we as the Web3 gaming space shot ourselves in the foot many times over by allowing the get-rich-quick schemes and the games that ended up being just Ponzi schemes to proliferate, to just grab a foothold of the industry. So it's not undeserved that we have this, that the Web3 gaming space has this reputation of, we're not real games. But there were the Sweet Talk in particular, the keynote speaker made the point, and I agree with him fully. We're seeing now more and more talented people from the traditional gaming space allow Web3 to come into their games, and that's part of the upswing, is that we've gotten some talent from the traditional space to add to the talent in the blockchain space and make these games even more and more robust. So we'll get there. I just think it's nothing immediate. It wasn't like certainly hasn't been that aha moment like, oh, we can use blockchain for all these really important things that we'd like to do in a game and haven't done yet because of this or that, right? So there's that. Now the other side of it, the other question you asked about cloud gaming, immediately everyone wants to do it, and of course it's really the cost and the lack of the technology that we have that's stopping it from getting mass adoption. So my evening with my friends from Pandemic, where I worked for in the past, right? And again, there was 1, 2, 3, 4. Again, these guys have been. When I left Pandemic, I went into mobile games and VR and educational games. They stayed with consoles, and they worked at EA and Xbox and Riot and big name studios. So they've been in the industry, deep in it for a while. I actually thought my one buddy had earned a Grammy for his audio stuff, and he corrected me.
Really?
Well, I thought he had. He'd been nominated. He didn't actually win. But I said to him, I'm going to keep on saying you won a Grammy just because it makes me sound cool. He said, don't do that. Don't slander my name. Okay, so he didn't win a Grammy, but he was really close. And he deserved it. I'm sure it was all politics. Anyways, we talked about cloud gaming quite a bit as a group, and they were all buying into this is going to be a way that things happen. But they also all agreed that it won't be the big studios that take the first step at trying it out, because they're too nervous, and they know what they know, and they're not nimble enough to take a chance on something that they don't understand fully or that they themselves don't control. So, but again, it all feeds to our initial thesis, is that we see the independent games doing better. They also, as I said to them, that's okay that you're a big studio, wouldn't be the first ones. We actually think it's better for independent because it opens up more creativity. And there's a lot of this. There's a lot of really creative people out there who don't have an outlet. And something that what we offer is they see the value in it. Yeah, they all, I think so.
But I think, as we said before, that's the idea about, 5 years ago, 10 years ago, mobile gaming. As we said before, the quote that we had from the CEO of that massive gaming company was, look, this is the best tech I've seen in 5 years. Because if you're a visionary and you're futuristic, you understand it. But with all these industries, with every industry, in fact, the people who jump first are definitely not going to be the big boys. It's going to take 12 to 18 months to get those guys over the line, I think.
Yeah. I forget who
I
was speaking to during the week, and it might have been that evening, but the idea that independent films are having a resurgence right now, and the big studios are struggling to get their big games, to get their big movies made, or to get people to go out and see them. The big flops that we've been having recently, and they were saying the same thing that we said, that's kind of what we're talking about when we say a YouTube for Unreal Games, Right? We're going to let the independents really have a place to shine.
But also, this comes down to this idea about putting all your eggs in one basket. You know, you have a massive game, you spend hundreds of millions on it. If it flops, then your studio's dead. Yeah,
that was one of the talks. That was one of the talks that I did get into. The guy was talking about, hey, don't have your large studio make a single game. You know, split them up and try different things. What talk was that?
Yeah.
That was the one. Oh, I remember. Hold on, I took a note. I know what it was. I'll tell you which one it was. It was the Navic. So
the Navic guys.
Yeah,
okay.
Yeah.
Was it Abby Mandu? Abby Mandu. I think it's the CEO, isn't he?
No, that wasn't the name I remember. I don't remember. Am I showing the screen anymore? Right. I'll have to look it up. I'll put it in a post. But it was yeah, they did kind of exactly say that very thing, that taking a large gamble on a single game is not going to be as I think it was saying de-risk by trying many smaller games, and get your game out there and see how it lands, and then expand on it if it does really well. This was the guy who made, I can't remember the name of the game. He built his whole studio on a single game that he made in his garage with his buddy, and now he's got like a 35-man studio. The other important point that he was saying was, if you are building a studio, stay small as long as possible, because downscaling your staff is it's painful, right, for everybody involved. What are the questions?
I can't see any other questions coming through. Lots of kind of excitement. We've got Jorah in, we've got Rowan in, we've got Sarwar in, we've got Jane, we've got JL, Nerdgasm, as we can see. Go on.
Should I talk about I can't, our distinguished competitor? We got some dirt on them. That
no, don't. You know, yeah, that was no, I don't want to say funny actually, but it was kind of like, yeah, it's kind of. But I think the interesting thing is that with the nodes, the SSDs going out, Nerdgasm got exceptionally excited about his arriving. You know, we've got one going in our office here. There's 13 or 14, I think, or 15 of them gone out, and they're all ready to start firing up. I mean, we worked out some numbers, didn't we? When we get the streams up and running, with the ones we've got tested already, it's like, what was the number? I think it was 30,000 streams a month we can run for gamers. I think the proof of the pudding is going to come very, very soon. And I think with this kind of the SSD pace, and then the other pieces that are coming as well, which I can't describe at the moment, but I'm going to tease people because there are announcements coming, and very soon, mate, very soon. I mean, there's a couple of things, obviously, that we're going to, I don't want to say tease out here, but we want to make sure that people who are kind of special followers are kind of, and people who attend these AMAs and town halls, that they see that there is, watch this space over the next 3 to 4 days, and watch this space over the next 2 weeks. There's some really, so Nerdgasm's basically said his node is up for 24 hours now, which is brilliant. We'll have the rest of them, I think, up in the next 2 weeks or so. And then obviously we've got the games that are going to start coming over. And then there is something kind of interesting to happen as well. I'm going to leave it at that. I'm just going to leave it at that. But watch, keep an eye on the Twitter, keep an eye on what's going on.
Just to say, it benefits our community more than people not yet in our community. We can say that, I think. So a good reason to pay attention and be around for us, because you'll be the first ones in. Asking what games. It's still K4 Rally is still on the table, as is Dome Nation. We've added. Well, I actually don't know. We haven't announced that one yet, so I guess we can't talk about that one. But MVR game will be up, and then we have a couple of demos that we put up as well. So, and then, as it is with these conferences, both the Denver one and GDC, I'm still in communication and just really initial talks to some of these projects. So, and some of the ones like those smaller student projects, like I got the contact email from the students, but really, can I get them to respond and fire back? I don't know. we'll see.
But also, I think that it's funny because we're in Web3. It's like when moon. Now. What do you mean? It's not landed. I think that the pace that things are moving at within YOM is really good. It's really fast. The development. I mean, Nergasm obviously having his node live. We've got other nodes live all over the place. They're starting to fire up, but all these things take time. And I think you'll be in conversation for the next 4 to 6 weeks with these people just to get them comfy with what it is, starting to see the nodes actually working, starting to see people, earning revenue from the nodes, starting to see, money coming through. And then I think as soon as people start seeing it, then people go, right, I'm not the first one. We'll have K4 Rally, we'll have Domination, we'll have the MDR game, we'll have a couple of other experiences. We've got a couple of other games that obviously are in track from previous anyway. Then I think that's when you start seeing things really moving. That's the kick.
Yeah, my hope is that I can grab 1 or 2 like the kind of game I was just talking about where it's cooperative, 2 players and one joystick, something like that onto our network, just to prove out the idea that a really quirky mechanic can really shine in our world compared to just posting a video up on YouTube or putting it up on Steam. I think that's one I'm really kind of one of those types of games I'd like to really get on board.
Yeah. That'd be interesting actually, how you would do it with.
You would do controllers. You do WASD with the one hand and you do IJKL with the other hand, or you plug in your controller.
But that's the thing. So it's interesting. We were talking to that controller company who were like, yeah, we can produce controllers which you could just link into your phone. So you could do it that way, or if you want to still run your phone.
I wonder if that game can play on the phone. Probably
those controllers are quite cheap, aren't they now? It's like €15 or whatever. So if you think about it, you could have the joystick controller, your phone streaming it, and then Chromecasting it to your TV, without having, all it would cost you is €15, $15, whatever, for your gaming controller.
Yeah, I should. The goal for me is to sift through and get conversations going with the ones who truly want to use our network. I should be able to get that all sorted and sifted through, the wheat from the chaff, just about the time I go down to Games with Tom and I fill up my house all over again with
more. Yeah. Well, as I say, we've got so just on the events and stuff, we've got London Games Festival, which is next week, which I'm going to. You've got Games Latam. We've then got Cologne, which is Gamescom again. That's August. We've got Token 2049, which, while it is a crypto and a
Unreal
Web3,
Fest in Orlando, that's in June or July, something like that.
June or July, and then in September in Stockholm as well. And then the Dutch blockchain gamers. I mean, there's going to be a ton of stuff to do.
I should be able to see my kids once or twice this year.
Yeah, that's all they need.
All right, brother. Yeah. I think that's a good wrap up of the whole week. No more questions. We'll go ahead and let everybody go. I guess I keep on not remembering to say this. Yeah. If you're not yet subscribed to the YouTube channel, please do that, because as we get more and more games, we're going to be putting up more and more content. We want people playing the games and putting their content up on Twitch and YouTube. The videos of unboxing, all those things should be up on these socials as well. But if you're not subscribed, do that. I imagine everybody's following us on X, but if they're not, they should. Discord and Telegram, both. I mean, we're active in both those places. Depending on what your Discord's probably the most important one, because that's what you do we do our node registration through. All right, everybody.
Indeed.
Get more work done.
Good stuff. Well, nice to chat. I chat to you all the time anyway, but this is a nice chat to have something that's got a nice bit of structure to it.
All right, one last question. So developers building games for YOM, how much are they actually involved in Web3? The ones that we currently are bringing on board, they're all Web3 enabled, right? Yeah, I'm thinking of the name. Yeah. But yes, they are. I would say all of them are currently. No, that's not true either. That's not true. There's one that's not. But I think, again, that's not a prerequisite. You don't have to have any kind of Web3 understanding to use our network, obviously, which is, again, part of the power that we have is that we enable anybody in Unreal to put their content up. All right, Andy.
Yeah.
Let you
Perfect.
go.
All right, dude. I'm making notes, by the way. I'm not going to show anyone my notes, but
Okay.
lots of things to do.
Yeah,
Anyway.
well, you're gonna need it all for when you get to London.
Yeah, exactly. It's good. Looking forward to it. So that'll be next week. So I'd say maybe I'll see you in 2 weeks on this one. But otherwise,
I should give you the contact too for the guy from Wales, so you can talk to them and see that game like in person. Because again, it was just gorgeous.
Yeah, if they're there, that'd be cool. That'd be very good.
I'll pass you the info.
Great stuff.
Right,
okay, well, take care, Jeff.
Everybody,
See you soon.
good.
Thanks, everyone.
See you next week.
Soon.